Right. Thanks to everyone for being here today. I'm not seeing other faces aside from my co-presenter, Linda Wen. My name is Laura Abate, and we're delighted to have you here. We're going to talk about e-resources basics today, and I'll lead the first half of the session and then turn things over to Linda for the second half of the session. I do have a chat screen activated, so please ask questions there. I don't know if you have I have the ability to ask audio questions. If you do, we welcome them. It's 2 after 2, and I love to get started on time, so I'm going to go ahead. So again, my name is Laura Abate. I'm from the Himmelfarb Health Sciences Library at GW, and I'm teaching today with Linda Wen, who's from American University's Washington College of Law. What we're going to talk to you about today are e-resources basics. I'm going to lead the first half of this, which is really about understanding the relationship between the institution zone, the network zone, and the community zone, or the IZ, NZ, and CZ as we call them. And then we're also going to look at sort of the definitions of portfolio and electronic collection, some different types of electronic collections, and sort of the relation, how they work together, and some options for how you can make decisions about how you want to run things at your institution. We'll also talk about more about the CZ and specific searching the community zone to find items you want to activate. I'm then going to turn things over to Linda. Linda, do you want to pop on and briefly describe what you're going to talk about in the second half of the session?
Sure. I will just follow the agenda. I probably will talk about e-resources activation, deletion first before I do the CDI, just because CDI is ridiculous.
The CDI, it tends to be something a little bit slippery for some of us, for me anyway. So we still, we will do our best to explain it and explain how it works to provide resources to your patrons. So I'm going to dive into the zones. And again, just to review, the institution zone, this is the materials that are in your library's collection that you've activated for your patrons' use. The network zone is really the resources that are managed by the WRLC. The WRLC licenses and purchases collections for us and manages them. And so you'll be able to see them and see that they're managed, but you won't be able to make changes to them. And again, and I'll talk about this, the collections in the NZ are generally available to all libraries in the consortium, although some libraries may choose to opt out of certain collections at their own prerogative. And then the CZ, the community zone, this is the whole wide world of ALMA. So this is things activated or added to the ALMA community worldwide. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and a lot of high quality records, especially records activated by vendors and collections maintained by vendors, but it is like the whole wide world. So you're going to find stuff that's great in there that you want to activate, and some other things in there that have maybe skimpier catalog records or some data that you don't think is all that terrific, but you might be able to get useful information from. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to do this mostly with screenshots, although I can go to Live Alma if there are questions or things we need to demonstrate more thoroughly. And I have this mostly with examples. So this is a screenshot of Alma, and you can see the tabs here across the top. I'm in the institution zone. I've done a search for CINAHL Complete. We're a health sciences library, so the CINAHL database is important to us. And I just want to sort of walk you through what you can see here. For one, because it's in the institution zone, you can see that this collection is activated for my library. So my patrons are going to be able to find the items in this collection. Up here, and I'm
right now we're still seeing the PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble. Thank you very much, Michael, for letting me know about that. So just to rewind, and apologies for that, Here we're seeing the ALMA screenshot. And so you can see here the tabs for the institution zone, the network zone, and the community zone. I've done a search for CINAHL Complete, and so I'll be able to see holdings in each of those zones should they exist. In this case, this record exists in my institution zone because I've activated it for my users. You can see across the top here, actually, can you see my mouse? It says that the type
Yes.
is an aggregator package. So this is a package put together by this vendor, in this case, EBSCOhost. So it's an aggregated package. When I license CINAHL, I license the whole thing, or CINAHL Complete, I license the whole package. And I've opted to activate all of the portfolios or items in that package. And I'll come back to that point. I can also see here that there are 1,364 titles activated in the package or available in the package, and I've activated them. So these are the individual items in the package. I can see here that the linking level is the article level. So if I do link, say, from another resource, Google Scholar or PubMed, back into full text from this collection, my users are going to land on an article, which is really nice. And then here I can see that it's available and activated in the CDI. So when users search for something, an article or resource within this collection, they're going to be able to find it via Primo. I'm going to move on. So this is the institution zone. Next up is the network zone, and I've searched for a different item. I've searched for this item called the hidden face of rights. Because it's activated in the network zone, I know that the WRLC is providing me this resource. I can see the title of the collection this falls into, JSTOR DDA WRLC. And then down here, I can see in bold, I can see all of the institutions that have this collection available. So eyeballing it, it looks like all of them to me. I'm not an expert in this. I'm an expert in looking for this GWA Health, which is my institution. So I know that this particular item is available to my users. And I'm sure the WRLC people are great at eyeballing that and knowing that all of the right institutions are there, but more often you're probably going to just look for your institution. Going to move on to the community zone now. So the community zone is what is available out there in the world. And in this case, I've searched for a different item. I've searched for this book, terrific book, The Ghost Map, the story of London's most terrifying epidemic, about cholera in London. And here in the CZ, I can see that it's available from 2 providers as an ebook. I can see it's available for licensing or subscription via EBSCOhost eBooks and eBook Central. I can also see, because it has this little house next to it, this is an indicator that this title is actually available in some manner, that this bib record likely is activated in my institution zone. In this case, Himmelfarb, my library, does not have this activated as an ebook in our institution zone, but we do have the print book. But this is an indicator that this is available in some way already at my library. I can flip back if I think it could. I may have already purchased it via EBSCOhost or eBook Central Perpetual. I could flip back to the institution zone. I've done that and it's not there, so I know we don't have the ebook. But it does give you an indicator. I'm going to pause just briefly for questions. If there are any questions, please feel free to chat them.
Hey, Laura, this is Smita.
Hey, Smita.
Can I just make a clarification? When
Sure.
you have that house icon, that means you have the collection EBSCOhost ebook activated in your IZ, not the ebook. So
thank you very much, Smita.
It's telling you it is a collection is activated in your IZ.
Thank you very much. I misinterpreted that. So Smita was saying this book indicates that the collection is activated rather than the particular item. Any other questions, comments? I welcome the clarifications when I get things a little bit wrong. Okay. let's move on to talk about collections and portfolios. Collections and portfolios, this is kind of a key concept in ALMA. And I remember when we started with ALMA, it seemed like the new vocabulary seemed a little bit overwhelming. And now I can't remember how this wasn't always the way it was. A collection in ALMA is a set of items. So for example, I mentioned CINAHL Complete. This is an aggregated collection. So there are different types of collections. CINAHL is an aggregated collection. It's mostly e-journals. I've activated it completely from the CZ. So the community zone record for CINAHL Complete has 1,364 titles activated, and my IZ also has 1,364 titles activated. One reason for that is I have activated this setting when I activated the database, or when I activated the collection CINAHL Complete. I chose to activate this setting, activate new portfolios associated with the service automatically. So when EBSCOhost maintains this collection in the CZ, those changes flow automatically to my IZ. Now, it does happen. It doesn't always happen on an instantaneous basis. On any particular day that you look in, you may see those numbers slightly out of line, although the situation has greatly improved. So those changes do seem to flow from the CZ to the IZ more quickly. But I have made the decision to set up CINAHL Complete as a collection that's, it's completely activated in my IZ, but the specific portfolios in that are maintained by a data fed from the community zone. Another type of collection is Elsevier, and I'm giving the example, Elsevier Science Direct journals. And this is labeled in ALMA as a selective collection. And selective, as you might imagine, means that you choose the items with the portfolios within that collection to activate. For example, in the CZ, the Elsevier Science Direct collection has 4,877 portfolios available, but in my IZ, I only have 467 of those portfolios activated. So those are the titles that we maintain subscriptions for. The definition between the aggregated collection and the selective collection, I think it makes sense. CINAHL Complete is something you license as an entity, and so you get access to that aggregation of portfolios. And in our case, we've chosen to activate all of them. Elsevier Science Direct journals, I don't know that there's any institution that is able to support the complete collection, all 4,877 of them. So that is a selective collection. Now that said, those labels are sort of meaningful when you're thinking about licensing the resources, but functionally within ALMA, you can treat them either way. I could choose if I wanted, even though Elsevier Science Direct is a selective collection, I could choose to activate the entire thing, all 4,877, and have the changes to that collection, this portfolio change to that collection fed automatically from the CZ. I don't do that because I don't have all of those titles. And similarly with CINAHL Complete, it's an aggregated collection. We have activated all the portfolios in that collection, but we could make another decision. We could say, you know, we don't really want to feed some of those titles we don't like. So we could choose to treat it like a selective collection. And that's one of the things Linda is going to show you how to do, is how to activate titles within the collection. So you can choose everything, and she's going to show you different methods of activating selected ones. But I just want to point out, these labels give you an idea of sort of how the collection was put together, but you can choose how to use them at your library. The third type of collection is a database. In this case, I've chosen LexiComp as my example. LexiComp is a searchable database. And so in this case, a database doesn't have any constituent portfolios under it. It's just one item that's a collection in and of itself. The portfolios are, of course, the specific items within the collection, or they're standalone. So we can have a portfolio that belongs to one of our example collections, CINAHL Complete or Science Direct, or we can have a portfolio that exists completely independent of a collection. So in this case, I've given an example. We have a license to the streaming video Power to Heal, and we have it as a standalone portfolio. So again, a portfolio can be, it's most commonly in our collections a book or a journal, an electronic book or an electronic journal, but it can also be any other type of material. And so you get to label these as you wish, but I mean, from a pick list, streaming video, data set report, or other common types of portfolios. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm gonna take you through some examples of how this looks in Alma. So to start, I was gonna show you I wanna show you an example portfolio. This is the Power to Heal, the streaming video portfolio. So you can see it has nice cataloging data. I think I owe this credit for this to our cataloger, Sarah Hoover, who cataloged it very nicely. You can see the full text link here in the center of the screen. And then we have a note. We have a streaming video license for this. So we've added a note regarding the parameters of that license, the dates that license is available for. I'm going to show you how this looks in Alma now. So in Alma, again, this is an item in our institution zone. So it is available there. I can see it has the full text. It says online get full text. So this is it has the full text service available for it. There's some order information here I can access if I wanted it. I'm not talking about that right now. And then there's a streaming video as well. It tells me the type of material. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this portfolio. So here's the information on the portfolio. You can see it's, again, a tabbed environment here at the top. A lot of the same information. This portfolio is currently available to my users. It's a streaming video. I activated it, just a year ago. That's nice. And I'm going to move on over to linking. Oops. Linking, on linking, you can see we're providing access via a static URL. Here's the direct access URL to this specific item. And the proxy, we have it set to enable our proxy so that this will automatically be added. Once I set this up, I can actually use the button here to test the access to make sure I've done everything right. The proxy, the easy proxy registration is working. It's going through a proxy correctly, that the URL gets me to the right item. So this is a nice, useful placement of this button. The coverage screen, in this case, I don't really have anything on the coverage screen. The coverage screen is much more useful for journals, but this is where if you've activated something from the CZ, you might see the date information already listed here. And you can see there's the opportunity to do not only fixed dates, but rolling embargo dates. And I do sometimes, or have sometimes come over here if I've activated something from a collection in the CZ and then found that the dates are a little different and I'm getting user complaints, I might come here and edit the dates to reflect what is currently available for that portfolio. My acquisition information, in this case, it's listing the PO line that I have this linked to for billing. The notes information, I don't make extensive use of the notes, but in this case, it was very useful to note both publicly the dates of the streaming video license and have it in an internal description so that we were aware of what was going on there. And we added some information about who requested this streaming video so that toward the end of the license, we can go back to that faculty member and see, is this something that's still in use? Should we try to renew this license? Okay. I now wanted to show you sort of to start the record for a collection. So this is the record that I activated, the cataloging record and the record that I activated from the CZ for CINAHL Complete. And I did want to display it because one of the issues, and I mentioned this earlier with activating things from the CINAHL, from the CZ, from the community zone, is that the quality of the catalog records can vary. And in this case, while the portfolio records for CINAHL Complete, the ones that I've checked look really terrific, and I'll show you one of those later, the collection level cataloging information is not great for my library. It has the title, the description is only in French, and it has very limited other information other than a French description. So it's not terrific, and I'm going to show you how we've, in a few minutes, how we've also worked around this issue. But I'm going to dive in to CINAHL Complete in the community zone. Again, you can see here this link. When I was playing with this link will show me the record in the community zone. So if I want to switch back and forth between this and the community zone, I can use that. The menu over here, you can see there's a host of things I can do. I can manipulate how it is in the CDI. I can look at the descriptive record or the cataloging record for it, delete it, view it, order it. But what we're going to do is we're going to really look at this record so you have an idea of sort of what you can do from within this collection level record. So here in the collection level record, you can see the public name for this that came over from the CZ, the community zone, was EBSCOhost CINAHL Complete, but that's not how my library sort of promotes it to users. We just call it CINAHL Complete. So I've given it the public name override. I just typed this in myself and provided that information. The description here was the one that came over from the community zone, and I also updated that here. Although I'm not sure that that's entirely necessary. Moving on to the general tab, you're reminded this is an aggregator package provided by EBSCOhost. I can look at more information on the interface, which I've not had to do, and I get an idea of when I activated this. And I actually was playing with the activation. We've had this database for a long time, but I was playing with the activation in preparing for this session. So you see a pretty recent activation date. On the additional tab, this I found interesting when we moved to Alma a few years ago. Here on the additional tab, there's this place where there's a level URL, and you can see there's one that came over from the community zone, and I've inserted an override, which is the link to CINAHL Complete in my collection. One thing I found interesting, if you put something in this level URL override, that means this record is going to display to the users. So if I didn't want the CINAHL Complete record to display to the users, I could take this out and it should not display, although it might display because there's still a level URL here, in which case you can suppress it at the bib level. But anytime you have a level URL in here, it means it's going to display a record for this resource to your users. I'm going to keep going. This is also in the additional tab. The additional tab here is long, so I'm scrolling down here. And down here at the bottom, you'll see information on the portfolios. So you'll see it's a full text portfolio, full text service. So that's what it's doing to provide to my users. There's 1,364 portfolios, and I have 1,364 activated. And so I realized this is getting a little nested. We're still viewing the portfolio, but now we're going to go ahead and move from, we're viewing the collection, and we're going to go from viewing the collection to viewing that service. So this service is the full text. So I would just click here on the 3 dots and choose view the service. So I just want to make that point. We're sort of nesting in. Here, again, we're on the electronic service editor, and you can see the service activation. It's available. You can review. I did select to have the new portfolios added to this collection automatically. I'm going to move over to the service description. It tells me it's a full text service. the linking information. So this is how it's taking all of those individual 1,364 individual portfolios in the CINAHL Complete Collection and creating URLs for them. I've boxed some of the information around here. This collection uses parser parameters. And what that means is this coding is going to act in combination with an identifier for the specific journal and create a URL that gets my user to the target. I'm going to show you some places where you can override this to get to specific portfolios. But this general linking information here that I've boxed off, I have never edited this. I would be very reluctant to edit this just because it's a very complex set of data and it's maintained by the vendor. If I had issues with this, I would reach out to Alma, and I would welcome if other eResources folks are on the call now and have other approaches to this, I'd welcome them talking about it. But there are ways to fix links in Alma, but this particular information, I would encourage you to be cautious about adjusting. Down here, we have a little bit more information. Again, the article linking level is article. It's not a free service. It's not Crossref supported. So I'm going to keep going. The next tab over, oops. Yeah, I'm in the service editor. The linking tab, oops. This next tab, piece of information, I've scrolled down, and there's information I can input about my specific access to this database. So you can see we use a customer ID, and I've kind of obliterated it. I don't know that it's private information, but I thought maybe I don't want to share it. I don't know. So I did kind of block it out, but we've added some information here that customizes it for how our institution links to these resources. And then the portfolios list. This is available in a couple different places, but here's one of them, the portfolio list. And from here, I can actually go in and see, I'm still in the service editor. You can see up here in the upper right-hand corner, but I can go in and move into one of the specific portfolios. So now I'm in a specific portfolio. This one is for AACN Advanced Critical Care. And so here again, you see the service level parameters that we saw on the prior screen that I encouraged you not to change. But here you can see if I was having a linking issue with this specific journal, maybe all the other portfolios are working great, but I'm getting error reports on this one. This is where I would come in here, and this piece, this parser parameter here, jkey equals 26zy. This is something I might consider adjusting. If everything else is working and all other portfolios are working fine and this portfolio isn't working, it may mean that this parser parameter for this particular journal is wrong. So I would go into the CINAHL Complete database, and you can use the durable link or permalink creator, and it will show you how EBSCO links to it, and you can pick out that piece of data that refers to the specific title. In this case, this is absolutely right. If you go into AACN Advanced Critical Care in CINAHL, you will see that the durable link uses this same code. And so I can sort of check if I wanted to. I would never normally check, but if a title isn't working, that's the first thing I would check to make sure that Alma has the right parser parameter listed here. There are different ways. You can see here parser parameters that really we're linking to this. Another option here, if it's just not working, you don't have time to figure it out, you can switch the link for this particular portfolio to a static URL and just copy and paste that permalink or durable link from the database over here and choose to do it that way. I prefer to keep them all as parser parameters if that's the way the database is set up, but it's certainly if you just need a quick fix and to get it working while you sort out what's going on, that's another option. Here you'll see proxy selected, and I think I didn't mention this. I'm going to flip back to the service editor. So here, I'm sorry, this is on the service editor at the bottom of this linking screen. There is proxy enabled, yes. And that is the place we typically activate the proxy. If you activate the proxy at the collection level, it's only going to activate the proxy for that collection level link. So if I activate the proxy at the collection level for CINAHL Complete, it's going to proxy my link to CINAHL Complete, but not to those constituent portfolios. By activating the proxy at the full text service level, it carries down into all of the constituent portfolios. So everything, all of the portfolios that are within this full text service are going to have the proxy information activated for them. Any questions there? I want to take a pause for questions. Okay, I'm keeping my eye on the chat box if anything comes up. Okay, so we missed service. We talked about adjusting the parser parameters as needed. And so that's why I wanted to point out here, there is an opportunity within each portfolio to activate the proxy, but I don't need to. I've already activated at the full text service port level, so I don't need to activate it for the individual portfolio. Okay, and then finally, so we've moved, we were in the portfolio editor. I've moved back out and we're back out in the collection level for CINAHL Complete. And the last tab here is the CDI. In this case, and this is the most likely thing you're going to do for most of your resources, it's just activated. It's activated in the CDI so that the resources in this collection and the articles that appear in the resources in this, or the portfolios in this collection, they're all gonna be available to my users on Primo. They'll be findable and linkable. There are some other choices that sometimes get made for collections, depending on how you have them set up at your library, but this is the most common thing is it's just gonna, the CDI is just going to be activated. So I did get a question explaining what the CDI actually is. The CDI, and I'm going to invite Linda to jump in here if she would like to, but the CDI is sort of the underlying metadata about the collection and about the items in the collection. So it's sort of what we used to think of, I'm trying to think, it's sort of what generates, creates the OneSearch environment. So I have AACN, that particular nursing journal, activated. And so it's what gathers up all the metadata about all the articles in that journal and all the metadata about the articles available in CINAHL Complete. How am I doing, Linda?
Great. I will explain further during my presentation.
Okay.
Hopefully it will make more sense.
In general, it's what makes these resources and the articles findable when you're in Primo, and Linda will explain in more detail. And Cody has provided a nice link on the chat. All right. So I do have one more screenshot to show you. This is a portfolio level record for this particular journal. I did show you how the bib record or the cataloging record for CINAHL Complete itself was sort of poor, but I did want to contrast that with, this is the bib record that I got from the CZ for this particular journal. And it looks very nice. And I think is a very appropriate level of cataloging, very useful to our users at any rate. So I did want to give you, because I gave you a little taste of the bad, a taste of what else you could find. And I checked a number of the CINAHL Complete records and they all looked very similar to this in terms of level of cataloging. Okay, so just some final words about searching the community zone. In general, searching in Alma can be a little persnickety. If you misspell a word, Alma is not terribly forgiving. If you miss a word in a title, Alma may not also be terribly forgiving. So you do have to be careful and sometimes creative about how you search. In the CZ, my preference is to search by ISBN or ISSN, and I've had very good results with that. But it is possible to also use some of the other tools in the CZ to focus your search. I wanted to give you some examples of how that could work. So here's a search I did in the community zone for AACN. And you can see I got 226 titles. If I look over here at the facets available here on the left side of the screen, I can get an idea of sort of how I might sift down to what I'm interested in. You can see there's aggregator packages and selective packages. So aggregator packages are going to be more likely sort of collections of things that you might buy at once, like CINAHL Complete. And the selective packages are going to be things that you might be able to license more individually. Although, again, those are rough parameters. The interface here, this sometimes gives you a clue as to the, or I've used this as a clue as to the vendor. So I see eBook Central here has 33 options for this. And so that's a nice clue for me. We have an eBook Central license. So that's, makes me interested in learning more about which of the portfolios are available behind that door, if the one I'm looking for is. Down here, you can see there's book, journal, and mixed packages. So again, I've entered this kind of crummy search, just AACN, but it gives you an idea. If I was looking for a book or journal specifically, I can use this to sort out. And there's also the electronic material types down here. I have no explanation why there's 2 links for book here, but it does let you sift out so you can hopefully get at what you're interested in more quickly. The second search here, I entered a more complete title, AACN Advanced Critical Care. You can see now I'm just getting journals, which is what I'm after. And then you can see here, I'm getting a little bit more useful information maybe about the interfaces. So I can see, whoops, I'm sorry, I didn't advance that. So here I can see, I'm just getting the journals, but I can see there's different, the CCC Get It Now, EBSCOhost, and look for things. For my library, it works to look for things that we're already licensing with, but also you can explore what your options are. One nice option here is I've narrowed this down to this particular portfolio available in the miscellaneous eJournals collection. And there's a button here with linking information. So if I wanted to see sort of how to get to this item, this is useful because now I have a link over to that journal. It may not be useful, like if I pull the linking information up for CINAHL Complete, because it's going to show me all that parser parameter and the parser stuff, which I cannot eyeball to get a usable link out of. But in this case, for things that are providing you a more direct, a URL or a static link, it can be very nice. All right, and lastly, in the CZ, I've clicked on this, the icon up here, the magnifying glass with the plus on it. Alma, I typically do stick with the basic searches and then am periodically reminded of how powerful this search interface is for finding things or finding things that don't include specific pieces. So if you're not finding what you want, don't forget about the advanced search features, which can be very, very powerful. All right, I am ready to turn things over to Linda. Are there any questions I can try to answer before I do that? All right, thanks very much.
Okay, can I share my screen? Okay,
you should be able to just click that at the green at the bottom.
Okay, let me open up my Okay, how I'm doing?
Okay, we see a search screen.
Okay, try to get familiar. Okay, so this is the last slide for Laura's. Okay, you see the topics?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to explain the rest. So as I mentioned earlier, that I will talk about the e-resources activation and deletion first, before I do the CDI, which is very complicated. Okay, first, know how to activate e-resources. There are basically 3 types of e-collections in the in OMA, in the system, in 2 categories, databases and packages. Packages, there are 2 types, selective and aggregator. They don't have function difference. In OMA, as far as I know, I don't, maybe I'm not familiar with acquisition. Maybe they are significance there for these 2 types of packages. I see in the chat, some people see only half of the screen. Is that the case? Oh, okay, fixed. Okay, thank you. Okay, take a look at this slide that the difference between databases and the packages are the services. Basically, for packages, we call them collections. They have for services need to activate it, which can be full text services or selective full text services. And databases, you can add services, but normally they don't. I will talk about database activation first, just because it's a little bit different. And for databases activation, I have a screen here, just 3 steps, quite straightforward. I'll talk about the activation from CZ first. You start from CZ, you look for or you find a package from the CZ, and that's the first step. And then you follow the prompt or wizard after you click on activate and finish the wizard. And that's all. It's quite simple, 1, 2, 3. And the benefit of activating from CZ is you already have a bib level record and also a level URL. And for databases, the reason I talk about activating databases first, because it's a little different than packages activation. It has, for databases, there are 2 required fields that you need to take care of before the database actually is activated. First is you need to have a level URL, and second, they should be an unsuppressed bib record. And if you start from the CZ, both of these already in place. And the rest of the fields are optional according to the situation in your library. You can specify the library, and for us, we are just 1 library, so it's not required at the default to the institution. And for counter platform, we don't need to, it's not required, and you need to load from the providers. Interface name, a note about that is for the interface name to be populated, the interface need to be edited in the vendor records. And then we have for PO line, a word about that is it depends on the workflow in the library. You can just activate the database, as I said, following the 3 steps, and then add your PO afterwards. Or you can just find the database in CZ and click on the action menu and then order. And that's the first step. So the different steps or according to your workflow. If it is a subscription or not free database, you need to provide a proxy. And lastly, some of the databases has the CDI tab that a lot of things you need to consider. And as I said, not all of them have that. Well, we will talk about the CDI last. Okay, a little bit different from activating a database starting at IZ. So you don't find a database, appropriate database in the CZ, and then you wanted to start from the scratch. So you go to the also just 1, 2, 3 steps, and you go to the menu on the left of the OMA, left tab resources, and add start the e-collection editor. Put in the public name and save, and follow the wizard and finish the wizard. Also, as I mentioned before, 2 required fields for the database to be activated. One is a bib record, the other is level URL. If you start from IZ, these 2 you need to take care of before you activate the databases. Normally the metadata librarian will have the bib record in place first, and then the acquisition will provide the level URL. I found that this function, once you have the databases activated, and you can always go back to edit the collection. Say you forgot to unpress, or you want to do other editings. And I found this function very handy. You go to the 3-dot action row and create e-activation task. You can always do that for databases or collections or packages. I found it's the most wonderful thing about this is, sometimes I create a database and I forgot to unsuppress the bib record, and then I saved it and realized it's a suppressed bib record. The database is not activated, and I cannot see the record in Primo. And then I have to open up, normally I have to open up a metadata editor and then go there to unsuppress. I found using this e-activation task, I don't have to go there. I can just click create e-activation task and go up to the top and find the task. And I can do a bunch of things there. I can do unsuppress and edit resources, edit other fields of the database. This e-activation task function applies to packages also. So I want to recommend using that. Activation packages is pretty much the same. It's just not with those two required fields. The bib records doesn't have to be unsuppressed for the whole package, and there is the level URL is not required. How packages are activated are by the services. Activating from IZ is pretty much the same. You just need to have the bib record in place. And so I will just talk about activate from CZ. The difference between the packages and the databases is there is a service, full text or selective full text service involved. When you follow the activation wizard, there would be a tab says full text services, and there you click on the activate this service and make service available. Click these two buttons and then follow the wizard. And follow the wizard. Along the way, you will be asked to specify the proxy, and then you have different ways of activating, adding portfolios. We will talk about adding portfolios in a little bit. Okay, let me go back here. Activating, there are two options, two ways to activating portfolios. You can activate all from the CZ, that's mostly for aggregators. And you can also activate via an Excel file. We will talk about it in a little bit. And then the manual activation, I do that a lot because as a law library, we don't want non-legal materials in our system. So we do a lot of manual activation also. Okay, so if I choose the second option, Excel file, that's also called batch processing. So what you need to do is you selected the second option using Excel file to activate a batch of portfolios. You follow the prompt, and then you need first download an Excel loader from a knowledge base. I have a link here. You download that, and then you somehow get a list of the identifiers, and you just open up the Excel loader, have copy and paste the list of identifiers you have, and then come back to OMA and follow the prompt. The one thing I want to get everybody's attention is for adding portfolios, update portfolios, there are not many difference between the loading policy type. The delete portfolios is the function that we need to pay special attention to because delete portfolios in this instance is not necessarily deleting. I have an example here. See, I follow the wizard and I select the file and upload the file here. If I choose complete and delete, what's that means? That means what's not in the file will be deleted. If I choose the incremental and the delete, that means delete what's in my file. So the result will be different. And I encourage everybody to just follow the wizard and choose validate online and go next. It won't do anything, but it will give you a report. There, if you have errors or if you chose the wrong policy type, loading policy type, you will realize that. So, okay, see, for different type I chose, when I chose the first one, complete delete, in my file, there were total 252 records in the file. And then number of portfolios to be deleted if I choose complete, it will delete those not in the file. And if I chose incremental delete, those in my file would be deleted. And in both instances, even though I'm trying to delete in records, 17 portfolios will be activated. Those 17 portfolios are those in my file and in the CZ. So it's a little bit complicated there. So the key to remember is when I chose complete delete, it means deleting those not in the file. And for incremental delete those in the file. So that's batch processing of the portfolios. And next, I want to talk about the global processing using a job just a little bit, because for the next advanced electronic resources training, we will talk about that in details. And what you do here is you just go to run a job function. I think you need some certain authorities, and then you search the portfolio, and you have these different jobs available there. An example task I'm doing now is my library is migrating from one proxy server to another. So a lot of our portfolios URL having old, those static URL having older proxy string, and then I can come here, I create a set, come here, and change electronic portfolio information here. Sometimes when we consider purchasing a new package or database, we want to know what's in the database. The database maybe, or the collections may contain titles we already have. So we want to compare, we want to do a overlap analysis. So there is a function in OMA. It's you follow the steps on top of my screen: resources, advanced tools, and then overlap and the collection analysis. There are two types of analysis. One is compare one database to another database, one collection to another collection. So say, as I said, when you are considering activating or considering purchasing a new database, you want to know what's in there compared to another database. And you can do that here. Or when you have a list of identifiers, say you have a list of ISSN of one collection of everything in one collection, and you want to know if we already have everything in that list, and you can do the overlap analysis there also. Another function I would like to recommend to everybody is when we do editing of anything, electronic resources, there is a pull down a function list, and there is one function called report to Ex Libris, and you do need to configure a little bit. And what it does is if you come across a problem e-resource, include database, collections, portfolios, anything, come across a problem one, you click on the 3 dots row action and report to Ex Libris, and you will, all the information is pre-populated, and then Salesforce tickets automatically created, and you will get an email. So I highly recommend that. Okay, so far, questions? Okay.
We had a question about OCLC. Did we answer that?
I have for the full screen, so let me.
The question was, can the bib records be imported from a bibliographic utility like OCLC?
Yes, that's in the metadata editor. Okay, let me open up the chat. Can a bib record be imported from a bib utility? Yeah, sure. That's in the metadata editor. I think your metadata editor, metadata librarian or system librarian need to do some configuration. So before I go to CDI, just to summarize, to activate the databases, we need to have 2 fields required, 2 fields for it to be actually activated. One is the unsuppressed bib record. The other one is the level URL, which is not the case for collections, packages, or collections. Packages are activated by way of activating services, where you add portfolios and you activate, you provide the proxy, so that the full text will be available in Primo. Okay, so now we'll talk about the CDI. This is, as I mentioned, is the most ridiculous thing in OMA, and it's very helpful though. We got one question earlier, what the CDI was. It's a good question. Okay, it stands for Central Discovery Index. It's a unified index or a combined index of all the data available to Ex Libris, and all the data that the providers provided to Ex Libris that they wanted to share with everybody. There are 2 types of data that they share with everybody. One is those available ones, and the other type is the searchable ones. Searchable ones is just they want you to search, but they may not provide you the full text link, or full text link. So in CDI, there were 2 included 2 groups of data. It's the Ex Libris provided data and your institutional local data. What it does is, well, we have an impression from Primo CDI search that it will, in addition to the title level, you have access to book chapters, journal articles, and maybe proceedings, those content within an item level. So what is how the Xlibris or how the CDI provides those information in related to those titles in your OMA is by matching the on standard identifiers, ISBN, ISSN, LCCN number. If your data do not have those, then the quality of a CDI search will be affected. CDI does match on titles, but that will be a fuzzy title, fuzzy match, and that would affect the quality and the link quality at the Primo. Let's see if I have okay, good. I did include a link so that a screenshot so that you will understand what CDI is better. Okay, CDI is at the Primo is a search scope. When you type in anything in the search box, you will have this list of scopes popping up, and the article in my library is called article scope. That is the CDI scope. And say I searched for lawyers' well-being, and then the URL on top of the screen URL is like that. I copy it down, and then you see the search scope equals central index. So that's what we call is a CDI search. If I search within the article CDI scope, there were two type of result will be populated. The default is called filtered search result. And on the right-hand side, I have this circled called expand my result. That is called expanded search result. So only in CDI scope search, you will see the refine my result by expand or by filter my result. Only in this scope, search and scope, you will see that function. And what that means is that by default, at least in my library, I think by most library, by default is the filtered search. Filtered search, you will have the things available, available online. You will have the full text available. And then expand my search, you will have in addition to the available search result, you have only searchable result. Searchable. So what depends, what you got depends on how you set up in OMA, the CDI settings. And because of this unified index, so the CDI can provide a lot more than item level search result. Say you have book reviews connected to the book or journal level search result. So is that helpful to? I hope that's helpful to understand what CDI is. I will repeat. CDI is the article search scope, and only in this search scope you will have this expand my result option there, and in the URL it will tell you that search scope equals central index. And what you got from a CDI search is, in addition to your OMA activated full text, you will have a searchable result. And in addition to title level result, you have articles, journal articles, book chapters, all populated, and they are matched and merged. You don't have say you search for a title, you don't have 100 of those search results. They are matched and merged. Okay, so earlier we talked about activating databases, and there is another activation. When you search for something in collection, search for something, like a collection or database in community zone, sometimes you will see a result like this on my screen. The first one under CDI, available for CDI search activation. There is no such thing for Boston University School of Law. And the second and third, you will see the CDI search activation option there. And that means these two, this second and the third collections, they are at least 80% of data available in CDI, indexed in CDI. So that's, you can choose to activate them. So all the data, all the titles within those collections will have article or journal article, book chapter level information activated. Okay. So when you have these available for CDI search activation available there, and the search right is free. If you see the second option there, search right is free. And you can click on activate for search in CDI there. You can activate that without actually activating the database. So there were two types of activation. You activate the database as we talked earlier. That means the database or the portfolio is traditional activation. You can also, either way or by combination, activate for search in CDI. And when you activate them, all the information, all the records will be searchable, will become searchable in the expanded search at the Primo. Whether they appear as a full text or not, it depends. There are a lot of pieces, it depends. So, okay, let me go to the next. Okay, once you click on activate the CDI. Okay, let's go back. You click on activate for search in CDI. You will have this screen, or any database or collection that has a CDI activation available, you will see this tab, CDI tab. And on top of the tab, the first half of the tab are the CDI institution settings. And how do you choose between all the options? How do you choose? It's all depend what you have at the bottom of the screen. At the bottom of the screen, you have information like search right, full text right, full text linking, the CDI type. All of these fields have different meanings and depending what you got at the bottom of this screen, depending what you got, you select what's on top. So this is quite complicated. I'll explain a little bit. Okay, at the bottom, this is the screen of the bottom of the CDI tab, and I will further focus on the fields I selected. First, there is a search right in CDI. There are free or subscription, two types of search right. Mostly, search right are free because the providers want you to have the search right, want the patrons have the search right. And sometimes subscription, you don't even have the search right in CDI. That means you activate it, you still don't see anything at the Primo because you have not subscribed. You know, subscribe means you purchased it and activated the database or collection. Okay, so that's the search right. And then full text right in CDI, there are also two types. One is open access. Open access, so most, of course, open access collections, they all have a search right for free. And for those kind of collections, you can feel free to activate them all, but you don't want to clutter your Primo, so that's another story. There are full text, there are another full text right that is subscription. That is the most of the case for us. You know, that's what our acquisition department does. We buy things and then we have a full text right to the collection. And lastly, important piece is the full text linking. That's the links, how the item, how the records at the Primo got the links. There were two types. One is the linking record, linking type. The other one is link resolver. Okay, what this means? Linking record, linking are the links provided by the provider, provided in within CDI. And the link resolver are the links from your Alma, the OpenURL links. Does that make sense? Whenever you see link resolver, linkings, think about Alma. You know, the Alma URLs. Everything you created, everything you activated in Alma, that's the resolver linking. And then there are CDI, there are records or collections CDI provides that they come with the linking, links. That's called the linking records. So all these have something, you know, to do with each other. And then all these together will depend how you choose the CDI settings, and they will affect what kind of records and what records are available, what records are just searchable. So all depends on the CDI setting, and how you choose those settings depends on these criteria.
We had a question. Can you give an example of when you would activate CDI for a collection and when you maybe should not?
Okay. When you, wow, that's a very complicated. Okay. I would say you always activate CDI whenever available because you want to take advantage of CDI records. You want to have book chapters, journal articles, all the specific content within your database, within your collections. I think you should always do that. It's just, I think the question should be how you activate. You don't want all the records clutter your Primo search. And yeah, that's why I think this, how the CDI setting, how you set up is very important. Because the settings will decide what records appear in your filtered search and what records appeared in the expanded search.
I was gonna, Linda, if it's okay, I'll jump in and give an example from our library of a place where we don't activate CDI.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for some of the ebook collections that we activate. And again, we're a health sciences library, and the ebook collections, for example, Access Medicine, if we have it activated in CDI, because we're a specialized library, we actually have our local cataloger catalog the books. And so we have a local catalog record. And if we also have it activated in CDI, we get a duplicate record. So we have records both from our local catalog and the CDI. In this case, the CDI record doesn't give us any deeper cataloging of the book chapters or internal content. And our local records are generally better catalog records than we get than the CDI, better metadata than the CDI is providing. So in that case, we actually suppress the CDI records in favor of our local records, just because of the nature of both the collection, like the information provided from the CDI and our collection.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention that CDI involves only CZ record. Local records is another story. Okay, so in summary, how you set up the CDI settings will have effect in your Primo CDI search result. And how you set up CDI settings depends on what you got here on this screen, search right, full text right, and full text linking. And especially these three fields, Yeah, it's a little bit harder to explain. So I will try. At the end of this presentation, I will give you a dictionary or a chart, a matrix as to what to do. Okay, so the setting on the top, sometimes we have different, a little bit different. See on the top, within the red box, there were four lines, right? CDI search activation. Second is we subscribe to only some. And the third is a CDI only full text. And then the fourth is do not show as full text available. And yeah, sometimes we have a little bit different options up there. Also that is because you have different criteria at the bottom of the screen. For example, this one, we have first, search right in CDI is free. So that's why on the first line of the setting, active, not active is alive. Sometimes it's faded out if it's not free. It's faded, you don't have option to choose. And you have to subscribe and activate the collection or database in OMA first before you can do the CDI activation here. Okay, the second line is we only subscribe to some titles. That line appears when the collection is a package rather than a database. You know, because database, you don't have specific portfolios. So that line would not appear. The third is a CDI only full text. That line only appears when your linking type is link in records. Full text linking is a link in records. You know, it doesn't depend on resolver. Link resolver is everything OMA. As I mentioned that, think of when you see link resolver, think of OMA, everything you activated. Portfolios, full text database, everything you activate, that's link resolver. And the last, you do not show as a full text in CDI, even if active in OMA. That is a, think that a suppression function. You suppress what you have in OMA, you want to suppress them as a full text available. They will still appear in expanded search. The flag would say no full text. Why do we do that? It's another story. Okay, one case for that is, as Laura mentioned, ebooks. Sometimes you have ebooks. If you do not click do not show full text available, then you may end up with duplicate ebooks in your discovery. Okay, so I hope it makes a little bit sense here. Next example will be still in this red box. There will be a little bit different because of the criteria or the features of the database, of the collection. Next, okay, see, we have 3 lines. We don't have which line? Go back. We don't have a CDI only full text activation line because the full text linking here is link resolver. So you don't have that option up there. Because link resolver, everything OMA, it will appear in everywhere in filtered search. So you can't say, what is the word? CDI only. So that's why it's not there. Okay, the rest of them, I hope it makes sense. Okay, go next. For this one, it comes back. CDI only full text activation is back because the linking is link in record. The full text linking is link in record. And which one is not here is the, go back. We subscribe to only some titles is not there. So why is that? Because this is not a collection, it's a database. There are no specific titles. So that line doesn't related here. So does that make sense? Okay, the lastly is sometimes we have neither. It's we only have two lines in the setting because one, this is a link resolver linking collection. So we don't have the CDI only option up there. And we don't have, we only subscribe to some titles because this is a database. It's not a collection. There are no specific portfolios. So for this, we only have 2 options up there. Okay, so some rule of thumb, I think it still don't make any sense to you because you don't know what is what. And so, okay, I want to point out some of the rules. First, only CZ collections are searchable in CDI, you know, because only CZ data is in CDI index that Ex Libris has. And the second is all active full text collection are automatically published to CDI. That regardless of you activate CDI or not. You heard me? Regardless you activated, all your full text collection in OMA, those portfolios you activated are automatically published to CDI. So, say you activated a collection with 1,000 title, 1,000 journals, and then, the journal articles will be available somehow, journal articles will available because there is a big unified index behind. So, okay, I want to go back here. As I said, all full text you already activated will be available in CDI, no matter you click on active or not active, regardless you're activating the CDI function in OMA or not. They are already there. Okay, the third is we subscribe to only some titles in this collection. When do we see this? When the collection is a package, not database. When you have all the portfolios, when do you say yes? When the linking is link resolver. As I said, when you see link resolver, what do you think? You think of OMA. Everything you activated in OMA, the portfolios, the full text database you activated. When you see the linking type, full text linking type is link resolver, you always click yes. Always click yes. Even though the line doesn't make sense, we subscribe to only some titles. Well, I already know some of you would have questioned, what about aggregators? We subscribe to everything. As long as it is a link resolver database, everything you activated in OMA, you click yes. It won't do anything because it won't do any harm because of the rule, some rule number 1. All the, number 2, all those full text collections, full text resources are automatically published to CDI. So as long as you have it in OMA, it will be available in CDI. And why do we do that? Okay, I will give you an example for selective packages, like Laura just mentioned, you activate 400 out of 1,000. And what about the 600? You don't have in your OMA. If you click no here, that means everything will become available in CDI. You don't want to do that because when a patron click on such title, it will say not available because you don't have it in your OMA. So it's safe always to say yes here. Then only those in OMA will say available online at Primo. And another type is a linking record, that all the records come with the database or come with the collection. You put no there because the links do not depend on what you have in OMA. and you want to take advantage of all the information. So you say, no, we subscribe to all titles in this collection. Okay, hope this makes sense. So I have these three rules. Okay, I know there are a lot of information, what is what and what would affect in the filtered search. Filtered search include all those available. It says online, available online. And then what will appear in the expanded search, which is in addition to the available ones, there are just searchable ones with no full text. It all depends on, these combinations. So I have these, it's like my dictionary. I give the credit at the bottom of the screen. So from another colleague. It's a little complicated there, so I simplified. Okay, so I will talk a little bit about this. First column is the CDI linking type. If the collection is a linking record, and then we have packages and the databases, two type of collections in OMA, and depends what the services and activate status. And for CDI settings, you have different options and what outcome in Proma with Primo will be. So this is my little bit dictionary. I do want to say, don't take what I said seriously because a lot of things behind. There are a lot of details that do not 100% match what I say here at the column says outcome in Primo. It's an ongoing file. Okay, one thing, I want to point out is for LinkedIn record, you see there were two types, collection types, packages or databases. And for link resolver at the bottom of the screen, link resolver, I only listed packages down there because for databases, link resolver, they only mostly affect abstract and index databases, not full text databases. They are even more complicated and you will have to consult knowledge base for details. So I only listed those basic ones here. So it won't be too overwhelming. So even though it's already a lot of information here already. Okay, so lastly, a little bit, when you activate a database or a collection, a package, and you activate a CDI search, what do you do to check? Okay, it's quite simple to check what the effect at Primo is. You find the DBID, database ID of a certain collection, and then you go to the Primo search and you do remember the CDI scope search for anything. See, for this example, I searched for QQQQ just because it's easier to locate, and then change the URL from query any to query DBID, and then change from QQQQ to the DBID. And then I will do this search, I will get the records from this collection, the CDI records from this collection, if the records are provided by this provider, because we have alternative provider data also. So that's another thing to make CDI more complicated. So this is a little tip to check what you have in a certain database. Search by DBID in CDI scope. Another thing is, it looks techy, but it's quite simple. You just go to the full display of a certain word in CDI, of a certain word in Primo CDI scope. You just click F12, F5, and then you will have the screen pop up, and you will find the, the open URL. And in the open URL, you will see the identifier of the record. And then you go back to OMA, search by that identifier. You will know, okay, well, which collection is that record from? So if anything goes wrong, you will check the collection there in OMA. Okay, so that's a little tip and trick. I go back one slide because on top I have the link to see the details. Okay, another thing is when you click on record in Primo, if you see view record in certain thing, it's a CDI record, and the full display of a record, there is a source field. It will tell you from which database this record is from. And okay, troubleshooting CDI. Sometimes we see, not sometimes, always we see strange things, and you want to check what's going on, what's wrong, and keep in mind that these certain things. For CDI, we have for newspaper search. Whenever you search in CDI scope, at the very bottom of the page of Primo, you see a newspaper search. Sometimes a collection is only for newspaper search. So that's why you don't see anything in the expanded or anyway in that scope. And also, whenever you edit a CDI setting of a certain collection, it takes at least 48 hours. I think Exlibris claims 38 hours. From my experience, it takes like a week before the things take effect. And then, when full text write is subscription, if the full text write is by subscription, then you need to log in at Primo to see sometimes. And sometimes you come across a title that it says available and actually not. When you click on the link, you may need to check your coverage, embargo, whatever, in OMA records. And as I said, the CDI and your OMA records are matched by identifiers. So it's always good to have a full bib records in your system. Okay, I think that's about it for CDI. Okay, I hope it makes sense. There are a lot of information. Remember my rule of thumb, and I hope the matrix make a little sense to you. I may talk for too long, I'm sorry.
Okay, and I think we can make your PowerPoints available. We'll put them on Basecamp so that people can refer back to those, and because there's a lot of great information in there. I know we're running a little short on time, but if there are any last questions, we can take one or two.
Yes, our email's here. So if you have questions, I think CDI really is beyond the basic training. That's, at least to me, it's very.
It's never ending.
If you want me to demonstrate anything at Primo or in OMA, I can do that now. You know, if any of you want to stay.
All right. Well, again, thank you. There was a question posted at 3:25. Let's see if we can find that question. Is there a way to view the records, ebooks, chapters, and articles within a CDI collection without activating CDI and stumbling across the CDI records in Primo?
Let me find that.
This is Matthew. That was my question. And I think it was actually answered by your Primo tip about searching in Primo with the URL by that DB ID. Unless there are other ways as well to see the contents, but that effectively answered my question. So thank you.
Great. You know, I left a link in my PowerPoint for the tips and the tricks. I think there are other ways to check. There are other ways to check. And as I mentioned that my matrix or my dictionary I provided there, they are not 100% accurate to my understanding so far. There are a lot of things automatically activated by CDI. You know, what I know is everything you have in OMA is automatically activated unless you suppress. You know, there is a suppress function in the setting. Unless you suppress, everything you have is activated. And in addition to that, I know there are a lot of things you did not activate. You know, the CDI, when you find a collection, it seems you did not activate either the database or the CDI searching, but you still find a lot of things there. So it's quite puzzling.
Okay, well, thanks to our two presenters. This was a great session with a lot of information. To anyone who is still here, if you are interested in the further events in our 4-part series, the same Zoom link will work, and it's on the next Fridays, the next 3 Fridays, and you're welcome to join. So thank you for participating, and watch for the documents to be uploaded to the Electronic Resources Basecamp. Thank you very much.
Thank you.